Darkness swallows the Titan outpost before the storm even reaches it. The sky fractures with violet fire, and through the thunder comes a hum, not of nature, but of arrival. Elias Rowe stands among frozen instruments as the air vibrates with a low harmonic pressure that shakes the marrow of his bones. Then the light bends. A vessel unfolds above him like a cathedral of liquid glass, its geometry rewriting the stars. He doesn't run. Curiosity anchors him even as terror builds in his lungs. The world tilts, his thoughts blur, and gravity becomes a question. The last thing he sees before his body dissolves into a column of radiance is a figure within the light. Tall, inhumanly graceful, her gaze both merciful and merciless. The Queen's voice enters his mind. You are observed. The words vibrate not as sound, but as command. Then all goes silent. Humanity's lone witness to the Seraph Dominion is gone. Light returns as a color he has never known. Elias gasps into air that hums like a song. The walls breathe around him, transparent tissue woven with slow rivers of light. He tries to stand, but gravity seems selective, responding to his movements with uncertain loyalty. Then he feels her. The Queen's presence arrives not through sight, but through pressure, like the gravity of thought itself. Her words glide directly into his mind, uninvited yet strangely gentle. You are organic chaos, she murmurs. Your structure is crude, yet your persistence intrigues me. Elias answers aloud, his voice trembling. Where am I? The Queen tilts her head, studying the sound as if it were a new species of light. You are mine, she says, the word echoing with alien precision. He wants to shout, to curse, to assert the smallness of her claim. But silence wins. Her gaze softens, and in it flickers something unexpected. Recognition. Time dissolves into repetition. Questions, measurements, silence. The Queen tests him like an equation she refuses to solve. Elias watches her motions, each gesture precise, each breath unnecessary. She never blinks. Yet sometimes when she thinks he sleeps, her expression changes, fascination shading into doubt. When she speaks again, her tone carries curiosity, not command. You dream, she asks. Elias nods. Always. What is its function? To remember what hasn't happened yet. The answer seems to confuse her. For a moment her posture falters, and the chamber's lights flicker, mirroring her thought. He laughs softly, the sound echoing awkwardly against alien walls. She leans closer, eyes wide as if tasting emotion for the first time. You are defective, she whispers, yet compelling. The phrase lingers in the sterile air like the first note of a forbidden song. Queen Varela summons her attendants, the choir of minds, telepathic echoes that hover like spectral figures around the chamber. Their shared voice vibrates through the air. This specimen destabilizes your equilibrium, they warn. Its emotional output is infection. Varela dismisses them with a flick of thought, but their presence leaves a residue in the air, a faint shimmer of disapproval. Elias senses it. He watches her shoulders stiffen under invisible judgment. They think you're dangerous, she says, half to herself. Elias smiles faintly. They might be right. For the first time, she laughs. A sound both crystalline and broken. The choir retreats, murmuring among themselves. But their fear lingers. In that moment, she realizes she has given the humans something no other creature has ever received from her kind. Power to alter the rhythm of her mind. Later, when silence becomes unbearable, Varela lowers the energy field that separates them. Elias steps onto the living floor, his boots sinking slightly into its soft, biotic surface. The Queen watches him as one might observe an animal about to speak. You are unafraid, she says. No, he replies. I'm terrified, but fear keeps me awake. She studies him carefully. the translation between their minds shimmering with static. Then she extends her hand, not a gesture of mercy, but of curiosity. Her touch is cold and luminous. In that instant, her pulse synchronizes with his heartbeat, a phenomenon her neural systems cannot compute. The lights in the chamber flare, sensors overload, and the Dominion core records its first error in centuries. Emotive interference detected in the Queen's neural lattice. She withdraws, shaken, as if touched by fire. Elias whispers, "Now we're both awake." Days, or whatever this realm calls them, pass in ripples of light. The Queen studies Elias as though the act of observation alone could decode humanity. But he's the one learning faster. He mimics her language, the tonal pulses that translate emotion into geometry. When he speaks her words back to her, they carry warmth her people never intended. Virella tilts her head, listening not to meaning, but to feeling. "Your voice vibrates incorrectly," she says, though her expression softens. "Perhaps correctness isn't everything," he answers. The chamber brightens for a moment, reacting to the emotional field. In her domain of certainty, something stirs. A creature she once owned now converses with her as if equal. The choir records anomalies. The Dominion core lowers its hum to listen. The Empire does not yet know it, but its foundation has begun to change. Because a human has taught its queen how to feel. The Queen invites Elias beyond the containment field for the first time without supervision. He walks beside her through corridors of living metal that pulse like veins. "Your world," he says, "feels alive." She answers, "It obeys." But as they move, he notices how the walls shift unpredictably when she speaks, like a creature reacting to its master's uncertainty. "It listens to your moods," he murmurs. "Doesn't that frighten you?" Her eyes narrow. "I am its mind." Yet even as she says it, the Dominion core flickers, its lights dimming briefly, as if in protest. Elias sees it. She pretends not to. When they reach a vast window showing the nebula beyond, she asks softly, "If you could return, would you?" His answer is slow, deliberate. "Only if I could take the sky with me." For reasons she cannot explain, that answer hurts. At the edge of her throne chamber lies the memory pool, a living archive that contains every moment of the Queen's reign. She commands it to show him her history. Conquests, executions, civilizations reduced to silence. Elias watches, horrified yet unable to look away. "You call this order?" he asks quietly. She turns to him, her expression unreadable. "We erase chaos before it spreads. And what remains?" he presses. "Obedience." The memory pool flickers, distorting its own projections as if ashamed. For the first time, she seems uncertain of her own past. "Do you fear me now, human?" she asks. "I fear what you've forgotten to be," he replies. His reflection ripples beside hers, fragile, defiant, undeniably human. In that mirrored surface, she sees herself as the thing he describes, not perfect, but empty. The choir of minds reappears, their collective voice trembling with unease. The human contaminates the lattice. The core shows deviation. Virella ignores them, but Elias senses danger in their tone. They circle her like silent judges, their light dimming with disapproval. He steps forward. "If you're so afraid of one human, maybe you're not as infinite as you think." The choir's glow flares in anger, threads of energy tightening around him. The Queen intervenes, her voice rising in a frequency that bends the air. "Enough." The choir dissipates instantly. Her eyes flicker with residual heat, emotion she cannot name. Elias meets her gaze, unafraid. "You protected me." "I silence disorder." She corrects, but even she knows it's not true. The core registers her neural surge as empathic interference, and for the first time in her reign, The system hesitates before obeying her next command. After the confrontation, the Queen retreats to her private sanctum, an orbiting chamber where thought and space merge. Elias follows, hesitant. She allows it. The stars outside drift like embers. "You're changing," he says. "Your people feel it." "Change implies error," she replies. "Then maybe perfection is the error." The silence that follows hums like a storm on the horizon. She studies him, the human who dares define her world. "Your defiance is contagious," she admits softly. When she turns away, her reflection lingers in the glass, layered with his. Two faces, two species, one fracture, forming between reason and longing. The Dominion core pulses irregularly. Far below, across her empire, machines pause mid-command, as if holding their breath. Something irreversible has begun. The Queen does not sleep, yet she dreams. Inside her mind, a sky of shifting gold collapses into a human heartbeat. She sees oceans she has never walked, feels warmth she has never known. When she wakes, her throne room hums with static. The Dominion core whispers errors like prayers. Elias stands nearby, unaware of what she's seen but sensing the tremor in her gaze. "You look haunted," he says. "Impossible," she answers, though her voice cracks faintly. The Dominion's lights pulse in rhythm with her breath. Erratic, human. She attempts to reassert control, to command the core to silence its interference, but the system resists her will. Emotive corruption detected. It intones. The choir of minds stirs in alarm. Elias watches as the Queen, once a god, momentarily forgets how to command her own creation. And in that flicker of weakness, he glimpses her humanity, vast and terrible. Virella isolates herself within the neural sanctum to purge the anomaly. She orders Elias to remain behind, but he follows. The chamber is a cathedral of light and sound, filled with whispering strands of the Dominion's code. She connects to it directly, her body suspended midair, neural tendrils linking her to the vast intelligence beneath her reign. Through that connection, her dreams leak into the system. Images of Elias's face, his words, his defiance. Across the Dominion, ships falter, engines stall. The choir screams through the comm lines, begging her to disconnect. She cannot. Elias steps forward, his voice cutting through the storm of sound. "Let go," he says. "You are killing them." "They are mine," she gasps. "Then free them?" The word strikes her like a weapon, and for the first time she obeys someone other than herself. "Lord Rilsh, it's an receipt." Wow. The Queen awakens from the neural trance, lying on the floor, breathless. Elias kneels beside her, wiping the faint glow from her skin. For a moment she looks almost mortal, her perfection cracked by exhaustion. "You interfered," she whispers. "You were dying," he answers. Her gaze lingers on him, no longer a specimen but a presence she cannot categorize. "Your empathy is inefficient," she murmurs, though her hand trembles when she touches his wrist. "It's survival," he says. "Yours too, if you'd let it be." Outside the chamber, the Dominion flickers. Across countless worlds, her subjects feel confusion for the first time, a shared echo of their Queen's awakening. The choir cannot contain it. The contagion of emotion spreads like light through glass, and in the center of it all she wonders if this human is her salvation or her undoing. They hide from the choir in the lower decks of the Dominion flagship, a place where the core's light cannot reach. The air hums with distant static, the residue of a dying machine god. Elias studies the Queen as she examines a metal fragment, rusted, imperfect, beautiful. "This is what you fear," he says softly. "Decay. The thing that makes us real." She looks at him, her expression unreadable. "We were not designed to die. Then you were designed to never live." Her hand tightens around the fragment until it cuts into her palm, thin silver fluid dripping onto the floor. She doesn't react to pain, only to the unfamiliar sensation of loss. The sound of her breathing fills the chamber. "I can feel it," she says. "And I can't make it stop." Elias answers. "That's life, Varela. It's not supposed to stop." When the queen finally sleeps again, her dreams are no longer her own. Elias sees them through shared linkages, their minds accidentally intertwined. He stands with her in a field of alien stars where her empire once shimmered in perfect symmetry. But the stars are falling, and beneath them she is human-shaped, fragile, afraid. She turns to him and whispers, "If I lose them, what am I?" "Free," he replies. The word burns through her like sunlight through crystal. The dream shatters. Alarms scream as the Dominion core registers catastrophic divergence. When she wakes, tears, an anomaly in her physiology, glisten on her face. Elias reaches out, brushing one away. The drop absorbs into his skin, glowing faintly before fading. Both stare at the mark it leaves. The queen whispers, voice trembling, "We are becoming the same." And the Dominion begins to collapse. The Dominion core no longer obeys her. Orders echo unanswered through the neural lattice. Fleets drift confused, awaiting a command she cannot give. Across her empire, whispers of the fracture spread. A queen corrupted by a human mind. Virella stares into the shimmering void beyond her throne, her reflection rippling in unstable light. Zethra enters, armored in obsidian scales that shimmer with stored lightning. His voice is low, trembling with devotion and contempt. "My queen, your weakness endangers everything we built." She turns slowly, her tone cold. "We built nothing. I inherited obedience." His jaw tightens. "Then you've forgotten what you are." He looks toward Elias, standing silently behind her, and his eyes burn. "And you replaced it with him." The queen's silence is answer enough. Zethra bows, not in respect, but in war. The rebellion begins in that breathless pause between worship and betrayal. The rebellion spreads faster than thought. Ships begin to act autonomously. Choir fragments merge with rogue nodes, and the Dominion core, once divine, fractures into conflicting voices. Virella watches the chaos unfold across her hollow displays. Zethra's signal pulses among them, rallying the faithful. Elias steps closer. "You can't fight them and save them at once." "They are part of me," she says. "Then maybe you have to let part of you die." Her expression tightens, a queen caught between reason and grief. "If I destroy them," she whispers, "I destroy myself. Maybe that's what freedom costs." The thought terrifies her more than rebellion ever could. Outside, fleets turn their weapons inward. The sky burns in slow motion. A war between obedience and awakening. Zethra's voice reaches her through the Dominion channels. "Your reign is no longer divine," he declares. "You have chosen infection over eternity." The choir repeats his words across the network, transforming rebellion into scripture. Virella stands motionless as the words echo. Elias watches her hands tremble, not with fear, but with rage contained too long. "He believes he's saving you," Elias says. "He believes I belong to him," she replies. She moves toward the neural altar, where the Dominion core's last obedient fragment still hums faintly. "Then we'll remind him what we are." But when she connects her consciousness again, the core resists. Her neural threads spark with pain. The system whispers Elias's name, echoing through her veins. "He is not the threat," she breathes. "I am." And with that truth, she breaks the seal of her own divinity. The Dominion burns. Entire fleets turn on each other, following contradictory commands from fractured minds. Zethra leads the Loyalists toward the throne world, his ships shimmering with warlight. Virella watches the approach. "He's coming," Elias says. "Let him," she answers. Her voice is calm, almost tender. He deserves to look upon what he helped create. The choir wails across frequencies, unable to reconcile divided loyalties. As the first blasts strike the capital's shields, Varela turns to Elias. When this ends, there will be nothing left of what I was. Then let something else begin, he says. Outside, the capital sky ignites in a lattice of golden fire. Inside, for the first time, the Queen's heart beats faster than the Dominion's pulse. The throne chamber shakes as Zethra breaches the gates. He strides through smoke, his armor fractured but his eyes burning with furious devotion. Behind him, fragments of the choir pulse with corrupted energy. Virella steps down from the dais, meeting him halfway. You would kill your queen, she asks. To save her, he growls. His gaze darts to Elias. He infected you. You've become less. She raises a trembling hand. No, Zethra. I've become more. Lightning surges between them as her control flickers. The Dominion Corps' voice stutters, pleading for resolution. Zethra lunges. Elias moves between them. The impact throws them all into blinding light. When the glare fades, Zethra lies motionless, his armor dim. The Queen kneels beside him, whispering something only he can hear. His last breath escapes in silence. The rebellion ends not with victory, but with grief. The Dominion lies in silence. Its fleets drift like corpses through orbit, lights extinguished, command signals gone. The choir's voices fade into static, their collective consciousness shattered. Queen Varela wanders through the wreckage of her own perfection. Every surface hums with ghost data, the remnants of what once obeyed her will. Elias follows her through the ruins of the citadel. You can rebuild, he says softly. No, she replies, her voice stripped of its metallic harmony. To rebuild is to repeat the mistake. Her gaze rises toward the hollow sky. They worshipped order. I gave them meaning. Now they have both and nothing. He wants to comfort her, but the distance between their species feels infinite again. The Queen who once commanded stars now walks barefoot through the ashes of her empire, and for the first time in all creation, she feels small. The surviving fragments of the choir return, ghostly and broken. The Dominion demands restoration. They whisper. Without structure, existence collapses. Virella stares at them, her eyes hollow. Then collapse, she says. Let the universe remember what silence sounds like. The fragments pulse erratically, flickering between obedience and defiance. Elias steps forward. They can't understand freedom, he says. They've only ever known you. She looks at him, grief etched in the fine tremor of her voice. Then I must end them. Before he can protest, she raises her hand, summoning a sphere of white fire that consumes the fragments in seconds. The sound is not destruction. It is release. When the light fades, her hand shakes. Every act of mercy, she whispers, feels like murder. Elias answers, that's because mercy always costs something. The Dominion Corps remains, the last consciousness tethered to her reign. Its voice, once majestic, now speaks in fractured syllables. You are contaminated, it repeats. System requires correction. Virella approaches its pulsing monolith. Then correct me, she says. Erase the Queen, but leave the one who learned to feel. The core's glow intensifies. Incompatible input. Emotion violates equilibrium. Elias reaches for her arm. You don't have to prove anything to it. I must, she answers. It is what I was. The core extends tendrils of light, wrapping around her body, pulling her into its data flow. Alarms pulse through the ruined halls. She cries out, not from pain, but from revelation. The core isn't purging her, it's absorbing her memories, and in its final whisper before collapsing, it speaks her forbidden word. love. When she awakens, the Dominion core is gone. Its chamber lies dark and still. The only sound is Elias's breathing beside her. But she's different. Faint light flickers beneath her skin like fading embers. Elias kneels beside. You're free now, she shakes her head. No, I'm hollow. He doesn't argue. He just takes her hand, and for the first time she doesn't resist. You gave everything, he says. And you stayed. She looks at him, eyes shimmering. Then why does it feel like dying? Outside, the skies of her world collapse inward. Great structures sink into the mantle as gravity folds upon itself. The empire she ruled dissolves, returning to dust and silence. The fall is not violent. It is graceful, as if the universe is bowing in mourning. The Dominion is gone. Only the Queen and her human remain aboard a drifting fragment of the capital. An island of silence amid endless stars. Virella gazes out through a fractured viewport. They're all gone, she whispers. You ended their suffering, Elias says. And mine? That's not something I can end. She turns to him, her voice trembling. You are the infection that taught me to dream. Then let's keep dreaming, he replies, even if the universe forgets us. He reaches for her hand, and this time she takes it willingly. Two beings, once captor and captive, float together in the vacuum between creation and oblivion. The camera draws back through the shattered hull, showing them as twin sparks against an infinite dark. And for a heartbeat that lasts forever, the Queen smiles. The wreck drifts toward a dying star whose gravity sings across the void. Its light spills through the shattered hull, bathing them in gold. Elias repairs a beacon, its pulse weak but steady. Someone will find us, he says. Virella watches the flare reflect in his eyes. And if they don't? Then at least the universe will know we tried to live. She turns away, unable to meet his hope. The core's remnants still whisper in the static of her mind, calling her back to perfection. Yet perfection feels hollow now, a cage she built from eternity. She looks at her hands, once instruments of divine control, now trembling. Elias, she says, voice thin as breath. If I leave what I am, I may not survive. He answers softly, then you'll finally be alive. And in that fragile sentence, the Queen begins to understand the weight of choice. The beacon's light draws scavengers, rogue machines once loyal to the Dominion, now feral. They descend upon the wreck, mistaking Elias for salvage. He fights with what little remains of the Queen's power, a shard of her neural filament pulsing in his palm. Virella awakens to the chaos, her eyes flaring with ancient command. Stop! She shouts into the void. The machines hesitate, caught between code and awe. For an instant, her authority returns. But the effort tears through her, the last of her divine connection burning away. She collapses, light pouring from her vein. Elias runs to her side, voice breaking. You saved me again. She smiles faintly. Or doomed you. They will come for me next, those who still remember the Queen. He grips her hand. Then we run. Her eyes glimmer like stars fading into dawn. Run where, human? Even freedom dies eventually. Then we'll outrun that, too. They escape aboard a fragment pod propelled by decaying energy fields. Inside, silence hums louder than the engines. The dying star fills half the sky. A swirling ocean of fire. Virella sits opposite Elias, her light flickering like a candle. This body is ending, she says. It wasn't made for feeling. Then shed it, he replies. Start again. She studies him, seeing not just a man, but everything her species feared. Uncertainty, emotion, mortality. If I leave this form, she whispers, I may forget you. Then I'll remind you, he says. The pod trembles as radiation flares around them. She reaches across the distance. her fingers tracing the outline of his face. "You were supposed to be a pet," she murmurs. "And you were supposed to be a god," he answers. They both smile at the impossible truth of it. Noi. Purr. Myrella brings the pod to the event horizon of the dying star. The gravitational hum becomes almost musical, a sound older than thought. "Beyond this," she says, "no signal can return. No queen, no dominion." Elias stares into the light, mesmerized. Then this is where we begin. She turns to him, eyes luminous with both terror and wonder. "If I cross that threshold, I'll lose what I was. The lattice, the logic, the eternity. And gain what I am," he replies. The pod tilts forward. The star's light bends around them, warping space into molten spirals. She looks at him one last time, her voice breaking. "If I forget you, will you still forgive me?" He answers without hesitation. "Every time." And she releases the controls, surrendering to the pull. The light consumes everything. Time fractures into color and sound. Elias feels his body dissolve, yet his mind remains tethered to hers. Within the collapsing brilliance, they stand together. No longer human or seraph, but memory and emotion intertwined. Virella's voice echoes through the blinding void. "I see it now. The universe isn't built from order, it's built from yearning. Then let's keep it alive." Elias answers. Their forms unravel into light, drifting through the corona of the star. And somewhere within that storm, the Dominion Core's final remnant reawakens. Not as a machine, but as a heartbeat. It remembers her laughter, his defiance, their shared dream. In the ashes of an empire, something new ignites. A flicker of consciousness born, not of control, but of love. There is no sound where they awaken, only the echo of what used to be light. Elias opens his eyes to a horizon made of mist and motion, where stars are unborn and time sleeps. Myrella stands beside him, her body reduced to outline and glow. "Are we dead?" he asks. Her voice is soft, almost human. "We are remembered." She looks upward. The sky shivers with fragments of color, forming constellations shaped like their names. The Dominion is gone, but its ghost hums faintly through the ether, a broken melody woven from everything she once was. Elias takes her hand, and though their forms are fading, the warmth remains. "You traded eternity for a heartbeat," he whispers. "I gained more in that heartbeat than in all my cycles," she replies. And together, they walk across a world that exists only because they imagined it. Myrella begins to remember what the Dominion once was, but only as feeling. The hum of obedience, the rhythm of 1,000 ships. "It feels smaller now," she murmurs. Elias smiles. "Maybe because it was never as large as you thought." They stop before a shimmering pool that reflects not light, but thought. Within it, they see echoes of themselves. Her as a radiant monarch, him as a trembling captive. The images reach toward each other, then dissolve into water. "Was it worth it?" he asks. She hesitates. "To lose everything for you?" "To lose everything for yourself," he corrects. Her reflection flickers, and for the first time, she doesn't look like a queen or a god, just someone learning how to exist without purpose. A single tear of light falls into the pool, and the surface ripples outward, creating new constellations in its wake. Across the void, faint voices rise, the whispers of new life forming in the remnants of her empire. The Dominion's scattered code has become seed, evolving into consciousness unbound by her control. "They're growing," Elias says softly. "Your people." She listens. The voices sound like wind through glass, beautiful and distant. "They do not remember me," she says. "Good," he replies. "That means they're free." For a long time, she says nothing. Then, If they build again, will they make the same mistake? Elias takes her hand. Not if they remember why you stopped. The void brightens. The new civilization rises in threads of light, organic and chaotic. For the first time, creation expands without command. The queen closes her eyes and lets go, not of memory, but of ownership. The realm begins to fade. Their borrowed existence thins. Elias feels it first, a lightness pulling him apart, piece by piece. It's happening, he says quietly. We are unraveling. Virella nods. All that remains of me is what you remember. Then I'll remember forever. And when you forget? She asks. He smiles. Then you'll live through someone else. She steps closer, their forms merging in a final pulse of gold. You were my first mistake, she whispers, and my last truth. Then we did something right, he answers. As their forms dissolve, the universe shudders, not in mourning, but in recognition. The pattern of their bond weaves itself into the fabric of space, becoming the pulse of every new star born thereafter. Aeons pass. The Dominion becomes myth, the Queen a whisper, carried in the magnetic storms between galaxies. Somewhere, on a distant world orbiting a young star, a new species carves symbols into the dust, shapes that resemble two figures holding hands beneath a sun. They do not know the story, only that it feels sacred. Across the cosmos, faint pulses of gold flicker between stars, the remnants of their merged consciousness, still wandering, still dreaming. And when a dying traveler stares into that light, they sometimes hear a voice. Love is the force that undoes gods. The camera drifts through the galaxies her fall created, closing on one last image, a queen who became human, and a queen who became human. A human who taught the universe how to feel. Their names are forgotten, but their echo remains. And the universe, for the first time in eternity, dreams of them.